Chapter 9. Shania knelt before the fireplace in her bedchambers, watching the flames swirl. She felt defeated. She'd been so proud when she conceived the plan to send someone else into the cars. It meant she could learn what was in there without risking the monarchy. Surely, these were the sorts of clever ideas that came naturally to queens. But it was only a small step forward. It was nothing compared to the giant leap backward she'd just been dealt. Even now, with Anne sure to deliver the Carses' secrets, Shania watched as a whole new mystery blossomed before her like a dark flower. Sending an emissary to explore the marsh had been an easy solution. Her new problem wouldn't be so quickly solved. Shania had listened carefully as Anne explained how her father had been taken by the Crimson Hoods. Certainly the Queen hadn't known she would be orphaned by Anne. Certainly, the Queen hadn't known that she would be orphaning Anne by taking her father into the Queen's service to live in a special tower. So maybe the Queen could see fit to select someone else and return Anne's father to Emberfell. Shania had assured the girl it could be done. She'd agreed to it as the reward for Anne's help. Anne would send regular reports on what she found in Dreadwillow Ch, and Shania would send the girl's father home. But it was a lie. Shania knew nothing of the tower where special servants of the Queen lived. Shania had never before heard of the Crimson Hoods. At the time, the lie had felt justified. There were many things, Shania had reasoned, of which she had not yet been made aware. She'd never been inside her mother's court where they likely discussed such matters. The Queen had many agents who performed her biddings throughout the land. Perhaps the existence of the Crimson Hoods would be revealed to Shania when Sconus got around to teaching her on the other lessons he promised. But the way Anne had described the Crimson Hoods, mysterious messengers who appeared at the turn of every season, didn't seem right to Shania. There was something sinister about it. When Shania retired for the evening, she had a new mission, learning about the Crimson Hoods as soon as possible. The next morning, Shania went to her mother's bedchambers to ask what the Queen knew about her alleged secret servants. She was greeted outside the door by the chief healer. "The Queen must not be disturbed, Your Highness," he said gently. "I have given her an elixir to ease the pain and keep her awake during the night. She will sleep for hours." Shania tried to insist on waiting at her mother's bedside, but the chief healer assured Shania that the Queen needed most was solitude. To distract her, Shania went to her daily appointment with Sconus. When her tutor arrived at the library, humming to his falcon that strange tune he always hummed, she sat across from him and asked, "What can you tell me about the Crimson Hoods?" Sconus stopped humming and yelped. His eyes widened, whether in shock or fear she couldn't tell. She suspected it was a little of each. The old man lifted his palms to the ceiling and made a circular gesture while muttering under his breath. Startled, Gerhardt squawked and retreated to the top of the bookcases. "What are you doing?" the princess asked. "An ancient ritual," Sconus rasped, "to ward off misfortune. Where did you hear about them?" "I heard they are secret servants of the monarch," she said. "If I'm to be queen, I should know more about them." Sconus folded his hands and regarded her closely. Yes, I think you're right. It's only fair. As queen, you must know what you're up against." Shania's toes curled in anticipation. This sounded more grave than she imagined. Sconus leaned in and spoke in hushed tones. "Servants of the monarch? Far from it. The Crimson Hoods stalk the silent places in the night, preying on the innocent. They are forged in the shadows cast by the dawn of time, and since the evil beings first walked, they've dedicated themselves to a single purpose, the destruction of the monarchy." Shania nodded, fighting all the while to hide her shock. Evil? There had never been, to her knowledge, anything in the monarchy that could be described as evil. The word had practically no meaning here. This didn't sound anything like what Anne had reported. And why had Anne believed the Hoods to be the Queen's servants? Unless the Hoods posed as servants of the Queen in order to steal away with Her Majesty's most loyal subjects. Unknowingly, Shania had stumbled on a conspiracy. "Again, I must ask," Sconus said, "where did you hear of them?" Shania was torn. Admitting she heard from Anne meant revealing her plan to learn the secrets of the Carse, but if the Hoods were real and seen recently in Emberfell, then the monarchy was in danger. She had to act with caution. I think I heard Cook mention it, she lied. Sconus nodded. Well, she'd know. Most of the staff would know all about the Hoods. They are well versed in ancient knowledge, wisdom you won't find in books, passed down from generation to generation among the commoners. Janiah quietly cursed herself. Of course. Cook would know all about this. When she was younger, the princess had spent hours in the kitchen listening to Cook weave tales as she ordered her assistants around. Janiah wished she'd thought to ask Cook about the Hoods first. The kindly old woman could give Janiah the information she needed to save the monarchy and rescue Anne's father, and no one would ever need to know about Janiah's bargain with the brave girl from Emberfell. The princess thanked her tutor and ran from the library. Until her mother woke, the monarchy was Janiah's responsibility. There was a threat to her subjects, and she was going to do something. She went first to the kitchen to Cook and asked what the kindly matron knew of the Crimson Hoods. Very powerful, the old woman said. They can reach into your chest and turn your very soul to stone. Next, Janiah consulted the royal cartographer, Mr. Reynolds. Before it became a land of bliss, the Crimson Hoods ruled with a savage fist. They say that if the Crimson Hoods ever returned, we're all doomed. Janiah talked to everyone she could find. All had stories about the horrors of the Crimson Hoods. Each added to her knowledge of this new adversary, but few told her how to fight back. One thing was very clear. The monarchy was in danger. It was Mr. Dalcott, the stable-keeper, who told her what she most needed to know. At the top of Gedrick Tower sits the war horn, he said. It has not been blown for 1,000 years, since before the time of the first monarch. It is a cry to battle. When the horn sounds, the wisest scholars gather in the throne room and plan to defend the monarchy. The war horn? Of course, Janiah knew of the ancient relic. Her mother had taken her to the Gedrick Tower and shown it to her a year ago. One day you will learn, the queen had promised, how important it is to the monarchy's heritage. That day, it seemed, had arrived. As Janiah ran up the stairs of Gedrick Tower, battle plans filled her mind. She would rally the royal troops. She would warn the commoners to avoid the Hoods when they returned. She would expose the evil beasts and protect the monarchy. She would be a queen. Gedrick, a tower that twisted upward like a great stone coil, sat on the easternmost part of the 9 towers' circle of spires. At the very top, Janiah spotted the great war horn, a crescent of bone and brass that took up nearly the entire room. She puckered her lips, pressed them to the small end of the horn, and blew as hard as she could. An unearthly shriek echoed through the land. Glancing off mountains and shooting through the trees, Janiah ran to the throne room, eager to meet with the Queen's Council to discuss a plan for protecting the monarchy. But when she got there, she found the scholars huddled in the corner and her mother standing with shaky knees before the throne. The Queen gripped a staff in her weathered hands. It alone kept her standing. As Janiah approached, Queen Sula placed herself between the princess and the throne. "Janiah," the Queen whispered, "what is going on?" The princess reached out. "Mother, the monarchy is in danger. The ancient evil, the Crimson Hoods, have returned. They're stealing the people of Emberfell. But I've blown the war horn, and I'm preparing to hold council." The Queen opened her mouth to interrupt, but doubled at the waist, seized by a coughing fit. Janiah gently helped her mother to her knees until the Queen recovered. "Janiah," Queen Sula said, "the Crimson Hoods are a myth, a fairy tale. They don't exist." The princess felt a lump in her throat. "No, no, Mother, you see. I know they've been taking people. They're pretending to act in your name. But I have a plan." The Queen shook her head. "The people of our land dress as the Crimson Hoods as part of a Gloaming-tide fete. They're symbolic and nothing more. There is no danger. Now please stop." Janiah looked past her mother at the assembled scholars. They whispered to one another, looking perplexed. The Queen summoned her strength and dismissed her council with a single gesture. Red-faced, Janiah helped her mother back to bed. Then she stormed to the kitchen. "You lied to me," she spat at Cook and the others. The servants smiled kindly with looks of genuine confusion on their faces. "Forgive us, Your Highness," Cook said, bowing low. "You asked us to tell you what we knew of the Crimson Hoods. We only did as you asked." "You told me stories and myths," Janiah said. "I believed you." "We only told you what Sconus asked us to tell you," Cook said. "He said it was for one of your lessons. We didn't know you were taking the story so seriously. The truth about the Crimson Hoods is—" Janiah didn't let the old woman finish. She turned on her heel and went in search of her tutor. She found Sconus exactly where she had left him in the library. He was pulling worms from a satchel and feeding them to Gerhardt. "Why did you do that?" she demanded, holding back tears. "You had everyone tell me lies, and you made me look like a fool. You're supposed to be my teacher." "And what did you learn?" Sconus asked softly. Janiah stiffened. This was a lesson, one that was harsher and crueler than anything taught by any previous tutor, but oh yes, she learned. "To believe only that which I've seen or heard for myself," she said through bared teeth. Sconus chuckled to himself. "It takes most people much longer to see that. You're learning your lessons quite swiftly. You might be too strangely clever for your own good. From now on, you are to tell me only the truth." "Everything I've said is the truth. Somebody's truth. Funny how truth changes depending on who says it." Too angry to speak, Janiah turned and walked quickly to the door. But she could give him the last word. Whirling around, she said, "Truth shouldn't be flexible." The tutor didn't even look at the princess when he responded, "People should be." Walking back to her bedchamber, still shaking with anger, Janiah made a vow. There would be no more lessons with Sconus. If she was to learn to be queen, she would do it on her own. When she went to sleep that night, Janiah dreamt that she was searching through Emberfell at midnight with a blue light lantern. The town had been abandoned. In the distance the war horn pierced the night, dissonant and warbling. Out of the corner of her eye she could see hooded figures lurking in every corner. But when she turned to face them, they vanished. She searched frantically as the lantern light grew dimmer and dimmer by the minute. When at last the light vanished, Janiah had to concede. She had no idea where Anne's father was. And that's the end of chapter 9.